I am the legendary female protagonist, catching my husband and best friend in the act of cheating. I neither cried nor made a scene. I simply said calmly, "You can have this man." My friends all praised me for being dignified, for being able to pick up and let go. A true-to-life version of a strong female protagonist in a satisfying story. But things didn't develop toward the satisfying ending of a revenge story. After weathering a storm of public opinion, the two simply got married. The following year, my best friend gave birth to a pair of twins, a boy and a girl. While my ex-husband's business took off and became incredibly successful, they turned into an enviably happy family. As for me, shortly after the divorce, I was overwhelmed by emotional backlash, tormented by feelings of trauma and humiliation. I was also deeply trapped in the collapse of my belief that good and evil would be justly rewarded. From then on, both my career and love life fell into a slump. And my life hit rock bottom. In my long-term days, I was hit by a car while crossing the street. Before I died, my best friend came to see me, her expression filled with pity and melancholy. "I know you've always prided yourself on being the strong female lead, so I deliberately arranged for you to witness it that day." I died consumed by regret and resentment. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the scene of the betrayal. I lay in the emergency room, on the verge of death, just moments ago. The doctor gravely informed me that my injuries were too severe and there was no hope of recovery. As I hazily thought, if I die, I die. The light click of high heels echoed, and Luna walked in. She was dressed in luxurious clothing, her skin glowing and full, looking even younger than she did 8 years ago when I caught her in bed with someone else. She looked at me with sorrow and pity. "Tiffany, I never imagined you'd end up like this. Fate is truly mysterious. After all these twists and turns, it's actually me who's seeing you off for the last time. Since that's the case, let's consider this time as a moment of honesty between you and me." I don't know why she appeared here. I wanted to turn my head away, not wanting to look at her, but I can't do it, because I'm dying. Luna sat down by my bedside, let out a soft sigh, and began speaking on her own. "I fell in love with Kevin at first sight, but during those years, I could only watch you two fall in love, get married, and see you living a better life than me, casually buying a bracelet that cost as much as my monthly salary. I couldn't understand it. We had similar family backgrounds, similar education, and similar looks. Just because you arrived at that coffee shop 10 minutes earlier than I did, why did Kevin fall in love with you and not me?" So I decided to take matters into my own hands and set things right. I found a way to sleep with Kevin. But when he woke up, he was full of regret and frustration. He even offered me money to keep it a secret from you. Later, even though he couldn't resist and we had a second and third time, he regretted it every single time. She chuckled softly. "How could that be enough? I know you've always prided yourself on having the demeanor of a strong female lead. You always said that if your husband ever cheated, you wouldn't cry and go crazy like other women. You'd immediately divorce and never look back. So I begged Kevin to have one last time with me, and I deliberately made sure you caught us in the act." I stared at her in disbelief, utterly stunned. After the divorce, I soon realized that the bold and carefree attitude of a strong female lead was only temporary. Before long, I was overwhelmed by emotional backlash, tormented day and night by the trauma of betrayal from the person closest to me and the shame I felt in society. Later, I watched as they got married, had children, started a successful business, and thrived in every way. Meanwhile, because I no longer believed in love, I not only couldn't continue working as a wedding designer but also didn't dare to start a new relationship. My life only grew worse and worse. This contrast felt like a form of torture, plunging me into mental anxiety, self-doubt, and a collapse of faith. Every day was like being scorched by flames, and I couldn't sleep at night. I thought it was just my bad luck, my weakness and uselessness, and I even despised myself for being unable to recover, but I never imagined it all stemmed from a calculated scheme. Thank you, Tiffany, you truly didn't let me down. Your pride and dignity also preserved our dignity, which is why Kevin and I were able to bounce back so quickly later on. Of course, the one I should thank the most is myself. After all, I did so many things from start to finish, including imitating your tone and actions in front of Kevin, spending money to get you fired repeatedly, including," she suddenly smiled, "going to a sperm bank abroad in advance, selecting someone who looked similar to Kevin, and getting pregnant with twins. My weak body no longer had any strength left, but at this moment, her words still made my eyes widen abruptly. After I decisively divorced him, Kevin still refused to let go. He knelt before me, repenting and saying that he only loved me in his heart, begging me to give him another chance, and swearing a solemn oath that he would never see Luna again in this lifetime, until Luna said she was pregnant with his child. In short, in the years that followed, especially after giving birth to two adorable babies, Kevin treated me better and better. He truly fell in love with me, little by little. Tiffany, I finally lived the life you had. I changed my own destiny with my own hands. Though it's a bit of a pity that no one will ever know. Thank heavens for giving me this chance to speak my mind right before you die. Tiffany, considering how honest I've been with you, I hope you won't hold a grudge against me after you're gone. Rest in peace. She stood up gracefully, her face beaming with triumphant satisfaction. Oh, by the way, are you wondering how I ended up here? The peach shortbread shop I love closes at 9 p.m. My driver was worried I'd be disappointed if I couldn't get any, so he drove a bit hastily. I hope you won't blame him. This was an accident, and he might very well be traumatized because of you. Of course, I will compensate you fairly and legally. After all, no matter how much I pay, it's just the cost of one of my bags. However, she suddenly tilted her head, looking troubled. But now you're all alone, with no family left. Who should I compensate? She laughed and shook her head, then walked out gracefully in her high heels. I closed my eyes amidst the howling of my soul. When I woke up again, I found myself standing at the second-floor entrance. The lively chatter and laughter of my friends drifted up from downstairs. Inside the room, two naked bodies were passionately entwined, accompanied by waves of heavy breathing. I froze for a moment, then raised my hand and slapped myself across the face. It hurt. Good, it hurts. The next second, I mustered all my strength and let out a scream. You shameless, scumbag couple. Two flushed faces turned toward me, panting heavily at the same time. The moment Kevin saw me clearly, his pupils contracted sharply, his body trembled, and in a panic, he completed the final step. Luna gasped and endured for a moment, then pulled the blanket over both of them, saying in a hoarse, breathy voice, Tiffany, please, don't act impulsively. It's all my fault. I seduced Kevin. Please don't blame him. If you want to hit or scold someone, direct it all at me. Once, Luna said the same thing. At that time, I was a wedding designer with both a successful career and a happy family. To me, love and marriage could not tolerate the slightest flaw. If a man was tainted or had strayed, then it was better to let him go. So, even though I was angry, disappointed, and disgusted at the time, I acted like the strong female lead in a novel, looking at them with disdain and contempt, and coldly threw out the words, this man is yours now. Without even entering the room, he turned around and went downstairs to leave. At this moment, Luna was staring at me with sparkling eyes, clearly anticipating my reaction, but I dashed in with a swift step. First, I grabbed the kettle on the table and threw it directly at Kevin's face. With a thud, hot water splashed all over him. He covered his face and let out a scream. At the same time, I agilely darted over to Luna's side like a monkey. With my left foot, I kicked the clothes on the floor under the bed in one swift motion, while my right foot lifted to brace against the edge of the bed. With both hands, I grabbed Luna's long hair and pulled with all my might to drag her out. It was the long hair she had meticulously cared for and took great pride in, thick, long enough, and easy to grip for leverage. This scheme was initiated by her, then let her be the first to face the consequences. I twisted my wrist, wrapped a strand of hair around it, and pulled it tight. Then, aiming at her still flushed face, I delivered 10 sharp slaps in quick succession. When one hand grew sore, I switched to the other and gave her another 10. This series of movements flowed smoothly and naturally, as if etched into my very genes. Luna's body was mostly suspended in midair, all traces of her earlier coquettishness gone. Lying on her back as if gazing at the stars, she stared at me in terror, her mouth emitting a continuous stream of sounds, like air being let out. On so many nights when emotions surged back, I regretted countless times why I had to act cool and leave that day. Why didn't I just let them embarrass themselves on the spot? Why didn't I expose all their dirty laundry to the world? After rehearsing it multiple times in my imagination, I realized nothing beats slapping them and pulling their hair to vent my anger. In short, when the people downstairs were drawn up by my screams, they saw this scene. I was pulling Luna's long hair with all my might, as if in a tug of war. Luna, completely naked, was clutching the blanket tightly with both hands, refusing to let go. Kevin had one hand covering his face and the other instinctively tugging at the other end of the blanket to cover his own naked body. The three of us formed a peculiar stalemate. The people at the door were utterly stunned. Today, a group of friends planned to spend the weekend at a homestay. I originally had work and was going to arrive tomorrow, but Luna called and told me Kevin got drunk tonight. So I changed my mind and rushed over overnight. At that moment, Luna was struggling to hold herself up, her face swollen like a pig's head, and she mumbled a plea for help. "Help me, please help me." No one helped her. Everyone showed expressions of disgust and disdain, but it wasn't like this last time. They didn't witness the scene of the affair firsthand. They only pieced together the story from the expressions and fragmented words of the three of us. Seeing it and not seeing it are completely different. The visual impact is different. The level of disgust is different. In fact, in the later years, when Kevin succeeded in his business and Luna transformed into a wealthy lady, they even expressed admiration. "You proved that true love can overcome all difficulties. Tiffany, you need to calm down first." Kevin's voice trembled as he spoke. His head above the neck was flushed red, his originally handsome face covered in shiny blisters from the heat, and his hair emitted faint wisps of steam. He looked like a boiled shrimp. That year, Luna and I had arranged to meet at a coffee shop. She was running late, so I opened my laptop to work on my graduation project while waiting. Kevin, sitting at the next table, smiled and asked me, "Classmate, are you studying design too?" That day, Luna was 10 minutes late. Kevin and I chatted so animatedly that we only had eyes for each other. By the time Luna arrived, I completely failed to notice the sparkle in her eyes as she looked at him. Kevin was an art gallery designer. In everyone's eyes, he is a gentle, kind, talented, sensitive, and easily soft-hearted person. He even remembers to keep a small bag of cat food on hand for the stray cats on the street, but his heart is too soft. In his previous life, he knelt before me, weeping in remorse. He said that Luna once confessed her feelings to him while drunk, crying about how she had secretly loved him for years and even remained chaste for him. She wept, saying she didn't ask to be together, only to have him once. He had rejected her many times, until he discovered she actually wanted to commit suicide, and in a moment of weakness, he agreed. I was utterly disgusted when I heard it and just wanted to get as far away from those two despicable people as possible. Within a month, I swiftly divided the assets and got divorced. At that moment, I only hated that I had only two hands and couldn't rush over to grab his face and tear open every single blister on it, but I couldn't rush. Luna can only seize this one chance. If she runs, there might not be another, and Kevin has to come home with me. How can I stay calm? I gritted my teeth and glared at him, his face flushed red, his eyelashes fluttering. He spoke with a face full of shame. "Tiffany, let her go first. Let us both get dressed, please." I sneered and said, "If you want to play the hero and save the beauty, that's fine." Luna and I made a vow that if either of us ever did something to betray the other, we'd let the other slap us 30 times. I've already given her 20 slaps, and now I'm tired. You can give her the remaining 10. Once you're done, I'll let her go. Kevin shook his head in panic. "Tiffany, I'm not trying to play the hero. Go ahead and slap her." Luna suddenly spoke through tears. "I was the one who seduced Kevin. I was the one who drugged him. I'm the shameless and despicable one. I'm Luna, the homewrecker who has no shame. It has nothing to do with him. Hurry up and do it. My stomach, my back can't take it anymore." Her voice was both pitiful and helpless. On one hand, she was playing the victim in front of Kevin, and on the other, she truly couldn't hold on much longer. After all, she was currently pregnant with twins. My friends were all crowded at the door. From time to time, they would say things like, "Don't be impulsive," or "Let's talk this through calmly," but no one actually moved, all eagerly watching the scene unfold. I thought Kevin would hesitate. After all, he is a kind and soft-hearted person. But before Luna could even finish speaking, he had already rolled over with the blanket and moved beside her. Then, the crisp sound of slap, slap, slap rang out. At one point, one of the slaps landed a bit lighter. I slightly frowned. And Kevin immediately increased the force. Luna showed a somewhat surprised and sad expression amidst the nosebleed, but she had planned for a long time with a clear purpose, and she got what she wanted. After the 10 slaps, her face, swollen like a pig's head, actually managed to squeeze out a smile at the panting Kevin. I don't blame you, she spoke with slurred words, looking at Kevin with the eyes of a star-crossed lover oppressed by evil forces, but Kevin turned his face away. 2 seconds later, he looked at me with trembling eyes. Tiffany, is that enough? I remained expressionless. Of course not, you've put such a disgusting green hat on me. If I only hit the other woman and not you, people will look down on me for favoring men, saying I only dare to be tough on my own gender. Kevin immediately nodded, closed his eyes, raised his face, and spoke in a heart-wrenching tone. Tiffany, go ahead and hit me. I only ask that you vent your anger, whatever happens. We can talk it out properly when we get back. I looked at the increasingly bright and translucent blisters on his face, as if a single touch would cause some unknown fluid to splash out, and I changed my mind at the last moment. Lowering my eyes, I said to Luna, come here. She showed a shocked expression, then shook her head sadly. No, no, Kevin suddenly roared. Hurry up, do it now, anything is better than this. And so, Luna began to slap him in an awkward, sorrowful manner. Are you flirting? I asked. Kevin gritted his teeth, harder. As Luna withdrew her hand, I caught sight of the sticky substance covering her palm. Finally, the farce ended with Kevin and Luna, one wrapped in a quilt and the other in a bedsheet, lying on the floor and fishing their clothes out from under the bed. My health bar finally turned green by 1/10. Going crazy is going crazy. It was just about venting the anger I had held back before because I was trying to act cool. It's not easy to get a second chance at life, so why just go crazy? What's a little embarrassment? As time passes, people will quickly forget. Kevin is an independent designer who has been deeply involved in the art industry for years. He is talented and has a portfolio of work. This kind of thing won't harm him in the slightest. It will just become a romantic anecdote when people talk about him. I know Kevin very well. The thing he cares about most in his life is his career. In his previous life, Kevin was noticed by an art investment group, secured angel investment to start a successful business, and from then on, his net worth exceeded hundreds of millions, enjoying endless glory. Luna also transformed into a wealthy socialite. In fact, the proposal he later used for financing had already begun its design at this time. Before his affair was discovered, we often discussed concepts and ideas, and I occasionally helped him complete some scene designs. Being a strong female lead is not impossible, but one shouldn't do it foolishly. Appearing calm and carefree, turning away with ease is just a facade. A true strong female lead makes use of all available resources, turning them to her advantage, leveraging others' power to achieve her own goals. Make yourself the one standing at the peak. I want to change my fate, change Kevin's fate, change Luna's fate, change my own fate. After Kevin knelt in front of me for 3 days, one evening, I sighed while looking out the window, then turned to him with a sad and aggrieved expression. Are your legs hurting? He froze in disbelief, then his eyes lit up with joy, his voice trembling. It hurts. Tiffany, are you finally willing to talk to me properly? That night, he kept repeating that he loved me, saying he just felt sorry for Luna, and that their closeness had given her an opportunity. With reddened eyes, I asked, was it really because she drugged you that you slept with her? He nodded without hesitation. Yes. I fell silent for a few seconds. I plan to resign. Your situation has made me doubt marriage and love, and I can no longer face those newlyweds who are full of hope for marriage. Kevin looked sad and said in a low voice, it's all my fault, but it's okay. I'll take care of you from now on. I've been in talks with an investment group recently, and I'm confident it will succeed. I looked at him and slowly said, but I don't want to give up on design. If I can't be a wedding designer, then bring me into your industry. His eyes lit up. No problem, Tiffany, I will teach you everything. In the future, we can start a business together and enjoy success as a couple. How wonderful is that? I lowered my eyes and said softly, The next day, he sent me all the materials and notes from his computer and began to immerse himself in designing the teaching plan. I've said it before. He is a very talented person. During the day, He not only worked but also took care of all the household chores. At night, he poured his heart out, unreservedly teaching me everything he had learned in his lifetime. We slept in separate rooms, and he expressed understanding, saying with a relaxed attitude, "It's okay, Tiffany, I believe that one day, you will completely open your heart to me." During this time, I didn't forget about Luna either. She works as a kindergarten teacher at a public preschool. I took a few sentences from the recording of her words at the scene of the affair, paid someone to set them to music, and hired someone to play them on a loop with a loudspeaker in front of her preschool. I seduced Kevin, I was the one who drugged him, I was the one who was shameless and despicable. Luna was the shameless one who became the other woman. The melody is cheerful and catchy. Anyone can sing along after hearing it once. A large crowd of parents gathered at the kindergarten gate before dismissal, eagerly discussing and learning the song. The music abruptly stopped only when the children came out. Luna slipped away quietly through the kindergarten's back door. She lives in her parents' neighborhood, but there, too, a loudspeaker is playing on a loop. Her parents were so angry they wanted to call the police, but she stopped them. I know she is enduring, biding her time, because she still has one last card to play. Kevin is a Catholic and has repeatedly stated in front of his friends that life is sacred and abortion is a moral sin. In my previous life, before the car accident, Kevin, who had already achieved success and fame, came to see me. At that time, I was in a very negative state and had lost a significant amount of weight. I coldly told him to get lost. He smiled indifferently, handed me a card, and said in a calm, authoritative tone, "Tiffany, no matter what, I love you. I really want to share my success with you, but Luna has given me a son and a daughter after all. I can't let my own flesh and blood grow up without their biological mother by their side. I know you're in financial trouble right now, and I can buy you another house. I have to go back to be with the kids on weekends. But I can make time to be with you during the week." I chased him out with a floor mopping machine. Looking back now, Luna was indeed very thoughtful. She knew that relying on herself alone might not be enough to secure Kevin, so she targeted the children as her key leverage. One day, I came home from outside. I saw Luna sitting on the living room sofa. Kevin was standing nearby, frowning deeply and sighing heavily. When she saw me enter, Luna immediately looked panicked, without another word. I rushed over, ready to tear her apart, but Kevin stopped me. He looked at me with a troubled expression for a long moment, then gritted his teeth and said, "She's carrying my child." Luna sobbed as she spoke. "Tiffany, I'm sorry, I had no choice but to come here. After all, he is the child's father, and I felt I should tell him." I turned to Kevin and asked, "Do you believe her?" Kevin lowered his head and whispered, "I believe her." "On what grounds?" His face flushed red as he said, "When we were together for the first time, she was a virgin, I could tell." Luna suddenly knelt before me with a thud, tears streaming down her face as she swore to the heavens, "Tiffany, we've been best friends for so long. You know I've never been in a relationship. If this child isn't Kevin's, may I suffer a miserable fate in my next life." She looked at me, her eyes gleaming with blatant provocation and calculation. I knew she was trying to provoke me, waiting for me to break down, turn hostile, and shout for a divorce. After what happened that day, I didn't choose to divorce Kevin, which must have shocked and confused her, so she stayed quiet for a while and then played her trump card. In her imagination, I absolutely couldn't stand the fact that my husband actually had a pair of illegitimate children. At this moment, Kevin was stunned for a moment, then slowly knelt down. "Tiffany, I beg you, I am willing to transfer all my premarital and postmarital assets into your name. Please spare these two innocent little lives." Looking at the two people kneeling before me, I remained silent for a moment, covered my face with both hands, and spoke in an extremely sorrowful tone. "I'm not a cruel and heartless person either. Since things have come to this, then, let's have the baby." Luna suddenly looked up, her eyes filled with shock. Kevin was both surprised and overjoyed, standing up excitedly to hug me. "Don't touch me. I feel terrible inside." I turned away to avoid him, then said with reddened eyes, "After all, we were once husband and wife. How could I bear the guilt of preventing two lives from coming into this world because of me? I can't be that kind of villain." Kevin's eyes also reddened. Then, he couldn't resist going to call his parents. Only Luna and I were left in the living room. She stood up, her gaze deep and fixed on me. I sat in the rocking chair, slowly swaying, and looked back at her. We've known each other for many years and understand each other well. She has never been the type to submit to oppression, and I am not someone who compromises for the sake of peace. The last scene was chaotic, she was caught off guard, and I was only focused on venting my anger, plus the series of actions I took against her later, resulting in her being expelled from kindergarten, being kicked out of the house by her parents, becoming an object of scorn and contempt among her friends. She endured all of this in silence, because she knew very well, Kevin has feelings for me. The more miserable and pitiful she appears, the more likely she is to gain his sympathy when she uses the child as her trump card, and the more likely he will agree to let the child be born. She was in no hurry, she had planned for a long time, invested heavily, endured humiliation, and advanced step by step. In fact, she did succeed. When I was dying, the woman I saw was elegant, adorned with jewels, clearly living a life of luxury and comfort, but now, she was still the wretched, shadowy Luna. You've changed. You used to say you wanted to be the leading lady of your own destiny, but now it turns out you can even accept your husband's illegitimate child. She slowly spoke, with a hint of sarcasm in her tone. I tilted my head and looked at her. I don't know if you've changed or not, Luna. Did you become so despicable and self-degrading later on, or have you always been this kind of person? Just hiding it too well before. Her face was tense, her voice gloomy. Things have come to this point. Say whatever you want, Tiffany. I just want to remind you of one thing. I've tolerated everything you've done to me during this time, but that doesn't mean I won't fight back. The baby in my belly is already 4 months old. 2 little lives that have already taken shape. If you pretend to be a good person on the surface but are actually planning to harm my child, I won't let you off either. I let out a light laugh. Don't worry, I'm not as despicable as you. Let me put it this way. You know I have emotional cleanliness. After what Kevin has done, I probably can't continue with him, but I can't lose both the person and the money, right? If he transfers all his assets to me now, I'm willing to divorce him immediately. A strong female lead certainly doesn't need a scumbag, but the money, not a single penny less. In my previous life, I was so eager to cut ties and get a divorce quickly that I didn't even bother to haggle over the property. As a result, when my life later hit rock bottom, I was left in a very passive financial situation. Now, my thoughts are very clear. I want a divorce, and I want all the property, and I also want to have the child. Hearing that I was willing to divorce, Luna's eyes suddenly lit up, followed by a faint hint of sarcasm. She was mocking my short-sightedness. Kevin is a blue-chip stock with great potential for the future. In her eyes, the current assets are something that can be sacrificed as bargaining chips. As for feelings, she has confidence in the child in her womb. I've seen that pair of twins, and they look a lot like Kevin. Anyone would think they're his at first glance. It must have taken her a lot of effort to find the right candidate back then. I have to say, she put a lot of thought into it, but Kevin is no fool. Before it was certain the child could be born, he wouldn't do something as foolish as transferring assets. As for making me divorce, then it depends on Luna's ability. At this moment, I planted a seed in her heart. Luna is cunning and will stop at nothing to achieve her goals. I believe she can do it. Just a few months, I can wait. Having understood my thoughts, Luna went back to rest and focus on her pregnancy. Kevin never went to see her even once, just to prove his loyalty to me, but he brought his parents over. He rented a bigger apartment and had them move in to take care of her. The old couple felt too ashamed to face me, so they just sent me a WeChat message saying the Collins family was grateful to me, and that the child I would give birth to would be the true firstborn son and grandson of the Collins family. I almost couldn't help but laugh out loud. For the next period of time, it seemed like everyone had settled into their own routines. Kevin became busy preparing for the investment meeting 6 months later. He worked at the studio during the day and taught me exhibition hall design in the evenings. His life was gradually getting on the right track, as if because of this romantic affair. His life blossomed with a different kind of radiance. As for me, I mainly did 2 things. The first, I found a girl named Lucy. She is Kevin's competitor in the industry and has designed many successful exhibition hall cases. However, due to her plain appearance and stuttering speech, she rarely appears in public. In my previous life, when Kevin was at the peak of his success, I saw news online about her suing him. accusing him of stealing her design achievements under the guise of collaboration. However, the news didn't cause much of a stir. Although I have already mastered Kevin's meticulously refined design routines, methods, and concepts during this time, I still need case studies to win the favor of investors. I found Lucy in an old house in an urban village, and I was surprised that someone as talented as her was living in such a cramped place, she explained calmly, wearing thick glasses. I can't get projects on my own, and after the money is divided, there's not much left for me. I asked her if she wanted to work with me. She looked at me from behind her glasses. She is a smart and spirited girl. I've seen her work. Quietly sophisticated, cleverly conceived. It's just that society has elevated external appearance to a position it shouldn't have, leaving no place for people like her. After thinking it over for a day, she agreed to my proposal. I want to succeed. I want to have absolute say over my work, and I want my creations to be seen by more people on a bigger stage. I admire her ambition and honesty. Second matter, I sold the apartment my parents left me, along with the $300,000 in savings I had on hand, all bought Bitcoin. It's 2017, and the price of Bitcoin is 15,000 renminbi, and before I died in my previous life, I remember the price of Bitcoin had reached $120,000. Reborn once, revenge must be taken, and money must be made. No investment is more worry-free and offers a better return than this one. I bought 200 of them. I memorized the password so thoroughly that I could recite it until I felt sick, so thoroughly that I suspect I won't forget it even in my next life, then, completely put the matter out of mind, as if it had never happened. Bitcoin's appreciation still needs time to ferment, but on Luna's side, it's almost done. When she was 8 months pregnant, she gave birth to a pair of twins, a boy and a girl. That night, I was woken up by Kevin's knocking at the door. He stood outside the door and said, "My parents insisted I go to the hospital. I'll go check on the situation and be back soon." But he didn't reply for 3 days. I didn't pay it much mind either, as I was busy revising the proposal with Lucy, spending all day in her place in the urban village. The more time I spent with her, the more I realized she was truly knowledgeable, quick-witted, and had a great sense of humor. Being around her was comfortable, and I could even sense that she was accommodating me on a lower level. A mutual friend of ours went to visit him at the hospital and called me afterward. "Tiffany, I really feel for you. Those twins look exactly like Kevin." His parents kept calling them their precious grandson and granddaughter, and the doctors and nurses all said how happy their family was. On the 4th day, when I returned from Lucy's house, I saw Kevin sitting on the sofa with a complicated expression. His brows were furrowed, and he seemed to be holding something back. I asked how the children were doing. His eyes suddenly reddened, and he abruptly knelt before me. "Tiffany, I'm sorry, these past 2 days, my parents have been threatening to kill themselves, forcing me to come back and discuss something with you." I looked at him and asked, "What is it?" "You know, my parents are from the countryside. They said they can't let the child be born with the stigma of being illegitimate, otherwise, not only will they be shamed to death when they return to the village, but the child will also never be able to hold their head high, so they made me come back to discuss it with you." At this point, he closed his eyes, his voice trembling. "They want us to have a fake divorce, then I'll register a marriage with Luna so the children can have official household registration and be recognized by the family. Once the children's full moon celebration is over and they're a bit older, I'll remarry you." I didn't speak. He opened his eyes and, seeing my silence, crawled on his knees to the coffee table, pulling a document from his bag and handing it to me. "Tiffany, I know this is unfair to you, so I signed a property agreement that transfers all my assets, both premarital and postmarital, to your name. This is my guarantee to you as your husband. Don't worry, once things settle down with the children and my financing is secured, I will marry you again with all the glory you deserve." I took the document and lowered my gaze to look at it. After a while, she lifted her head. "Luna agreed." He was slightly taken aback. "Why would she need to agree? In front of you, both of us are sinners. She feels guilty too, and she hasn't said a word about these arrangements." I sighed. "Since things have come to this, what can I do even if I disagree? It's all for the sake of 2 innocent little lives. Tiffany, don't worry, even if we get a fake divorce, I'll still come back to see you often. We can still be just like before." Watching him sadly repeat the same words from our previous life, I couldn't hold back and let out a cold laugh. So you mean, I should be the mistress instead, while you enjoy the best of both worlds? His face stiffened. Of course not. My stomach suddenly churned. The next day, we went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get a divorce. Both parties were in a hurry. He was in a hurry because there was a 1-month cooling-off period for divorce, and they wanted to get the marriage certificate before the child's full-month celebration. I'm in a hurry, because I'm purely in a hurry. Kevin felt guilty towards me and quickly completed the property transfer procedures. Of course. A large part of his confidence came from the fact that he believed he was about to secure a substantial amount of funding. During this time, Lucy and I made a trip to H-City. I came back just as the cooling-off period ended. I saw Kevin at the Civil Affairs Bureau, along with Luna, who had just finished her postpartum month. They're holding the full-month celebration tomorrow and wanted to get their divorce certificate today so they could immediately get their marriage certificate. How eager they are. Kevin stared at me blankly. Tiffany, I heard you went on a trip to relax. Are you feeling better now? We've been doing just fine. Luna looked at me with a faint, coldly mocking expression, already carrying a hint of the arrogance I remembered from our previous life. As Kevin walked away, I suddenly spoke up. I once asked Kevin, if it had been you who arrived early at the coffee shop back then, would he have fallen in love with you? Luna's eyes flickered. Clearly caring a lot about this answer, I smiled and slowly said, he said no, and I asked why, since back then we were very similar in every way, and many people said we were like twins. Guess how he answered? Luna pursed her lips and didn't speak. I don't mind either, and continued on my own. His exact words were, I don't like women with complicated minds. There's too much going on in Luna's eyes, too much clutter. She listened, her expression steady, her voice equally calm. Tiffany, are you saying all this now just to provoke me? Then you underestimate me. You may look down on me, or perhaps you're shouting things like, strong female lead, and, no internal competition among women, but I'm someone who prioritizes goals above all else. I only know that I want this man, and now I have him. After today, I will be Kevin's rightful wife, not you. As for whether he loves me or not, there's still a long road ahead, and that will depend on my abilities. I smiled as I looked at her. Are you sure the road ahead is still long? The next day, I attended the full moon banquet hosted by Kevin. His parents were loudly telling everyone, they already got their marriage certificate a long time ago. We didn't mention it earlier, which caused so many misunderstandings. It's because our Kevin is soft-hearted and wanted to protect the reputation of his ex. When I walked in, the guests who recognized me all looked awkward. I pretended not to notice and walked straight up to Kevin, who was beaming with joy. Tiffany, I didn't expect you to actually come. He looked somewhat pleasantly surprised. I smiled and said, of course I had to come personally to witness such an important day. Not far away, Luna spotted me and started pushing the stroller in my direction. Along the way, people kept greeting her, and she had to stop and exchange a few words with a smile. I handed him a document and said in a gentle tone, this is the information about Luna's artificial insemination abroad 9 months ago. Consider it my congratulatory gift to you. Kevin took the document and flipped through it. After a while, he looked up in a daze. Why did she go for artificial insemination? I looked at Luna, who had already approached with a wary expression. Then you'll have to ask her. After saying those last words, I turned and walked away. The next day, Lucy and I set off for H-City again. I sold my house and car. And this time, instead of buying Bitcoin, I used all the money to renovate an art gallery in H-City. It was a dream design that had been lying in Lucy's computer for a long time, the same one that was stolen by Kevin in the previous life and later won an award. Lucy's eyes slightly reddened. I once asked the heavens why they gave me the ability to dream but not the ability to make my dreams come true. Now I understand. The heavens chose the best way for me. Thank you for coming to me that day. For the next period of time, Lucy and I stayed in H-City. Kevin called and messaged me countless times on WeChat, and so did Luna. I didn't look at any of them. I immersed myself in the world Lucy had built, enjoying the beauty of high art, and for the time being, I didn't want to deal with those rotten people and their nonsense, until one day, while having a meal with an investor outside, I ran into an old friend. Tiffany, what are you doing in H-City? You know what? I have shocking news. Those twins aren't Kevin's children. From her, I learned what had happened during this time. The day after the full moon celebration, Kevin took the children for a paternity test. It said that the moment he got the report, he collapsed to the ground with a thud. That same day, Luna was kicked out with her 2 one-month-old babies and returned to her parents' home. Colin's parents, seeing their son suffer such a great loss, cried and cursed from morning till night in the neighborhood of Luna's parents, demanding compensation from the Lincoln family. The Lincoln family's parents, unable to bear the anger, came out to argue with them. Colin's parents were from a rural area in another region, and their Mandarin was not standard. Completely overwhelmed in the argument, they both collapsed in a fit of rage. At first, people thought they were acting and just watched. By the time they realized they needed help, one's mouth was twisted to the left, and the others to the right. They had both suffered a stroke at the same time. Within a few days, Kevin surprisingly took the initiative to bring Luna and her 2 children back home. His reasoning was that since they were married, they were family, and besides, the elderly at home had suffered a stroke and needed care. One night, I suddenly received a WeChat message from Luna that only had the number 110. I called her, puzzled, and it was Kevin who answered. He said it was an accidental touch while handling the child. Kevin came to find me again later, but it was just to ask if I knew where you had gone. Apparently, he had reached out to all his friends. He's changed so much. He used to be gentle and cheerful, but now he seems so gloomy. On the evening I returned from H-City, I saw Kevin downstairs at my new place. At first glance, I didn't recognize him. Even though he was dressed in a suit, he had become thin and gaunt, with a somber expression. He seemed to have grown quiet, as if the life had gone out of him, but this kind of quiet was not a peaceful one. Rather, it felt like the calm before the storm. I frowned. How did you know my address? I asked the agent who sold that apartment. At the time, I was in a hurry to go to H-City, so I entrusted the same agent with both selling my old apartment and finding a new one. He stood in the darkness, his gaze heavy as he looked at me. Tiffany, I don't blame you. I let out a cold laugh. He paid no mind to my attitude, his voice steady. It was my fault first, and it's fair that you want to find a way to get back at me. Tiffany, we are in love. The reason we ended up like this is all because of Luna. She finally admitted to me that it was all a carefully planned scheme. She also harmed my parents, and sooner or later, I will make her pay the price. I used to be too soft-hearted and kind, which is why I fell into Luna's trap. This is the nature of an artist, but it is a weakness for a man. It won't happen again. I'm glad, Tiffany, that we are even now. Everything can still be salvaged. My financing will be finalized soon, and the amount is substantial, reaching hundreds of millions. I didn't tell you earlier because I wanted to surprise you. As long as we have money, all problems can be solved. It's fine if the old house was sold. I will buy you a bigger one. I will hire someone to take care of my parents. They treated you poorly, so I'm sure you don't want to look after them. And as for children, Tiffany, we will definitely have our own biological children. He didn't press the matter further. After saying these words, he turned and left. I remembered being fired one after another in my previous life, and having to work as a waiter in a restaurant to make a living. In that private room, Kevin and my former friends didn't recognize me with my mask on, but they were talking about me. Kevin, didn't you say you have feelings for Tiffany? Why is it that every time she finds a job, you find a way to get her fired? Kevin chuckled softly. Tiffany was my first love, and we had some wonderful times together. Of course, I have feelings for her, it's just that she's too proud. Because of the Luna incident, she divorced me and left without a second thought. I need to crush that pride of hers first. Only by letting her sink into the mud and then reaching out to pull her up will she feel grateful to me and learn to cherish. In my previous life, he made me sink into the mud. In this life, I will let him climb high first, only to fall hard. For Kevin, true revenge is not about harming his body or reputation, but about destroying the capital he relies on to survive. What is the capital that a man cares about? Career, money, lover, children, and his dignity as a man. I just want him to experience the pain of falling from great heights. I want to shatter everything he possesses and cares about, right before his eyes, piece by piece. Making him suffer isn't true revenge. It's making him plunge headfirst from a jar of honey into a pot of bitter herbs. That kind of pain cuts deep. The final blow. They're finally here, at the investment negotiation meeting. The moment Lucy and I appeared, Kevin showed an expression of disbelief. He quickly composed himself and even cracked a joke in front of all the investors. Are you sure you want to present this yourself, Ms. Zhang? As far as I know, your speech impediment is quite severe. If needed, I can take over for you. I smiled. Lucy is the chief designer of my company, but for something like this presentation, I can handle it myself. Kevin's gaze instantly darkened. Lucy once wanted to train her oral expression. I told her that one should just do well in what they are good at, and there's no need to challenge their weaknesses. Her strength lies in design, then I'll make up for the rest. Kevin is a great teacher. During that time, he taught me without holding anything back, which allowed me to handle all the questions in the subsequent presentation. Finally, when I played the real-life video of the art gallery in H City on the big screen, the investment team members all showed satisfied expressions one by one. High City is at the forefront of international art, and gaining market recognition there means it can be standardized and replicated nationwide. The moment everyone's applause rang out, Kevin's face turned deathly pale. He seemed to have all his strength drained from him in an instant, collapsing into his seat. When I walked out of the venue, I didn't even glance at him. 2 months later, my design company, LT, with Lucy successfully secured the first round of funding. I haven't seen Kevin during this period. I had already moved to a new apartment the day after he showed up downstairs, without telling any of my friends. I believe this blow was devastating for him. A cornered dog will jump over a wall, and I didn't want to put myself in any unfavorable situation. It is said that after he transferred all his assets to me, he borrowed a large sum of money, confident at the time that he could repay it immediately, and now all his hopes have turned to bubbles. But these are the retribution he deserves. That day, I had just finished meeting with the investor at the coffee shop and was about to start the car to leave. Luna suddenly blocked my car. She looked completely different, emaciated beyond recognition, her skin as pale as a ghost. She rushed over with eyes wide in fury. But what she said was, "Tiffany, please, I beg you. Please ask Kevin to let me go. I was wrong. I shouldn't have made you divorce. I apologize to you. I'll kowtow to you. Please just let him release me." I was surprised and lowered the window halfway. Her eyes were filled with terror and despair as she tore open her collar, revealing a large patch of bruises. "He's a madman. The only thing he does every day is torment me. He threatened that if I ran away, my parents and child would pay the price. Tiffany, he loves you the most. Please go and plead for me. I don't want anything. I'll take care of the child myself. I just beg him to let me go and spare my life." Seeing her in such a state of agony and collapse, I was momentarily at a loss for words. Once, she so triumphantly boasted to me about stealing Kevin away, being his rightful wife, and now, she is desperately begging me to help her, just to escape from Kevin. Suddenly, her whole body trembled, and she turned her head stiffly to look, not far away. Kevin stood beside a car. His face was blurred as he looked in this direction. Luna screamed and immediately turned to run. Kevin unhurriedly got into the car and started the engine, then he stepped on the accelerator and drove straight toward her. Amid the gasps of the crowd, Luna was sent flying high into the air, tracing an arc before landing with a thud on the ground. Motionless, blood began to trickle out across the ground, but the car didn't stop. Kevin seemed to have fallen into a state of madness, driving straight ahead in one direction. There, a line of kindergarten children stood dazed by the roadside. People screamed. I turned the steering wheel and floored the accelerator. After all, I've already died once. I might as well die again. I clenched my teeth. I crashed head-on into Kevin's out-of-control car, amid the massive explosion. My consciousness gradually faded. My final thought was, my 200 bitcoins. What a pity. When I opened my eyes, I found myself lying in a hospital bed. The young nurse showed a surprised expression and was about to speak when I interrupted her with my weak voice. 2025. The little nurse was momentarily confused, then nodded. Having read too many novels, even though my body couldn't move, my mind was racing. A dream, a life flashing before my eyes, or have I been reborn again? The little nurse was very happy. You're really lucky. Your heart had stopped beating, but in the blink of an eye, it started again. I spent the entire day lying in bed, recalling everything that had happened during this time. If it was a dream, Why were the details so vivid? The knowledge about those art exhibition halls in my mind was so clear and logical. I even remember every clever detail of the H-City exhibition hall. In the evening, Kevin appeared in my hospital room. He is the big shot Kevin of this lifetime, with a refined and noble appearance. His expression is confident and composed. Tiffany, you have no one to rely on, anyone can bully you. Think about it, be my lover. After all, we were once together for a night, and that bond lasts 100 days. I suddenly asked him, what is the key to the flow of an exhibition hall? He was taken aback for a moment, then blurted out, striking a balance between natural guidance and free exploration. My heart started pounding. This question is exactly the same as the one Kevin taught me to answer in my dream, and in this lifetime, I definitely have no knowledge of this. I struggled to grab my phone and make a call, asking my roommate to bring my computer over. Kevin asked with a smile, why are you suddenly asking me professional questions? I looked at him and coldly spat out one word, get lost. He left with a cold, mocking laugh. It seems you haven't had enough of a hard time. Half an hour later, my roommate had a courier deliver the computer. With great difficulty, I opened the laptop, logged into the website, and entered the password that seemed etched into the depths of my soul. I closed my eyes, then opened them, and pressed the confirm key, BTC 200:00. I quietly watched for a long time, then let out a deep sigh. Once, after successfully taking revenge on Kevin and Luna, I always felt a sense of regret in my heart. Feeling sorry for the version of myself in another parallel world, to die so helplessly and miserably, while those who had hurt me continued to live happily in another space. Perhaps my act of trading my life for another moved the heavens. The heavens have been kind to me, they let me fight my way back again, and they even allowed me to bring back a massive fortune. For the next period of time, I obediently followed the doctor's instructions by taking medicine and getting injections, while constantly building a mental checklist of all the things I needed to do. 1 month later, I found Lucy in a house in the urban village. This time, she almost immediately agreed to my collaboration proposal. Curious, I asked her why she was willing to trust me. She thought for a moment and said, over the past few years, I've had this vague feeling that I was waiting for someone. This feeling has kept me going and prevented me from giving up on myself. My eyes slightly reddened. Then I gave her a radiant smile. Yes, I'm here. Thank you for waiting for me. At this time, the exhibition hall industry was being replicated everywhere with Kevin's standardized model, with the slogan aiming to establish 500 Collins-style aesthetic art exhibition halls nationwide. He signed a gamble agreement with foreign capital, betting his entire fortune. 3 months later, a new exhibition hall design company called LT suddenly emerged in the industry. Unlike Kevin's standardized exhibition hall model, its philosophy is that art exhibition halls should possess a personalized core and refuse to become standardized industrial products. With the support of capital, LT quickly established a presence in major cities across the country. 1 year later, LT replaced Collins as the premier exhibition hall favored by artists nationwide. Kevin lost the bet and was saddled with massive debt. Later, I sent him a private investigator's report. Extra story, Kevin had a sudden stroke. The doctor said he had a family history of cerebral infarction, making his risk of stroke several times higher than the average person, but it was still relatively rare for someone so young to have one. It is said that when he collapsed, he was still tightly clutching a paternity test report, reciprocating the gesture. I also went to the hospital to visit him. He lay stiffly on the bed, his eyes askew and mouth twisted. Mustering all his strength to utter a slurred, guttural sound, she hit me, call the police. She hit me, Tiffany, please, help me. I leaned down and whispered softly, this is a matter between you and your wife. How can I, as an outsider, interfere? She is your wife. At most, it's domestic violence. It wouldn't be good to trouble the police. As I turned to leave, his eyes were filled with pain and despair. 2 years later, on Lucy's birthday, I went to the market to buy groceries, planning to cook her a birthday feast myself. The neighboring stall was noisy, and when I turned my head, I saw Luna. She was caught red-handed stealing bones and was being scolded by the stall owner. You're so young, why not find a proper job instead of doing these sneaky, underhanded things? Luna's face was filled with sorrow as she pleaded softly, I've been unlucky. I've tried many jobs but got fired from all of them. My husband is paralyzed at home, and we have 2 children. I had no choice but to do this. At one point, her eyes met mine. Instantly, embarrassment, anger, jealousy, and resentment all surfaced on her face at once. I walked over and whispered a sentence in her ear. Do you know why you've been fired from every job in the past 2 years? Her eyes widened abruptly. I smiled, tit for tat, enjoy it. As I walked out of the vegetable market, I heard Luna's scream from behind. A wave of sighs and lamentations rose in my heart. For a moment, I couldn't decide whether it was more tragic for Kevin and Luna to die together as they did in another life, or to be burdened with massive debt and torment each other in this one. But no matter what, they deserve it. On the way to Lucy's villa, I passed by a school just as it was letting out. I stopped far away to let the children cross first. While waiting, I suddenly realized that this intersection was exactly where Kevin and I had our car accident. At this moment, a group of middle school students passed by in a line in front of the car. They were full of youth, with bright smiles, and one by one, they waved at me. Thank you, Auntie. Thank you, Auntie. Thank you, Auntie. I also reached out my hand, waving vigorously at them. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.